Okay, so you've gone through the rigmarole of getting onto a graduate scheme, and you want to know what you should expect in that first year when you start the scheme. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Welcome to another video, my friend. And yeah, I've been on the Accenture graduate scheme for the last 2 years now, and I want to share some perspective as to some of the common things that will probably come up on your graduate scheme as well. And it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because if you know what to do to get into a graduate scheme, you are going to be going through these things that I'm going to share with you here. Now, if you are struggling to get onto a graduate scheme, I highly recommend that you check out my graduate success pack. It's going to be linked in the description below. If you know my story, it took me 4 long years to get onto a graduate scheme. I was doing all sorts of trial and error, and I was just not finding any success. These 3 items that I share with you in the success pack, basically, I give you my winning graduate CV and cover letter templates so you can copy and paste your stuff into there and use it from literally within 5 to 10 minutes. You've got a CV ready to go. I give you my graduate job tracker as well, where you can track all your graduate scheme applications, track all your notes and stuff. So one-click install, you can get that in there as well. And then you'll also get my graduate interview model question and answers document as well. All the questions and all the model answers that I gave to those questions in my graduate scheme interviews, it's all there for you for the taking. Link to that is going to be in the description below. It's going to help you speed up your graduate application, so definitely check that out. So, in this first slide, I want to just kind of share with you a typical, um, a typical roadmap that you can expect when you get onto a graduate scheme. And if you don't know what a graduate scheme is, I've got a video on the channel that kind of goes through that and talks you through exactly what it is. But just to give you a bit of a quick recap, it's basically a 2 to 3 year program which has structured training in there. So usually offered by big companies. They give you a good salary for it as well compared to a graduate job. And there are differences between the two. And yeah, you basically get structured training, on the job training. You most of the time also get some sort of qualification as well as part of that graduate scheme. And then most of all, you're earning, you're learning, and you're doing a very vital role. Usually, these roles have leadership sort of traits in them, responsibilities in them. And yeah, it's a very, very good package for someone who's a graduate. I like to uh, give similarities between this graduate scheme, and I like to say that it's similar to an apprenticeship, but for graduate level people. So people who have degrees, it's basically very similar to an apprenticeship, how an apprenticeship works. You might be going into work 4 days a week, might have one day where you're doing like your accounting qualification or something like that if you're on an accounting graduate scheme, and you're getting paid the big bucks as well. So yeah, if I get the pointer out here, or if I get the pen out here. So I've kind of given 2 scenarios because every graduate scheme is obviously different. Every graduate scheme is going to be, depending on how they run those things, it's not going to look exactly the same. So I've just given a timeline here from like 0 to 12 months for 2 cases. So that's case number 1, case number 2. Um, and yeah, so any typical kind of graduate scheme will look something like this in the first year. You'll have a formal training, which is about a month or maybe even less than that, or it could be a little bit more than that, where you're kind of shown the ropes, you're kind of given information on how the company runs, the community, the ways of process and onboarding and that kind of stuff, and that can last for however long it needs. But yeah, you're basically given formal training or some sort of hand holding where you're shown what you need to do. And that's one of the great things about a graduate scheme is that you're always given some sort of formal training. And one of the differences between a graduate scheme and a graduate job, I've mentioned this before as well, is that you do have a lot more structured training on a graduate scheme compared to a graduate job, where you're kind of thrown into things and you are required to kind of pick things up, because there's an expectation that you have a degree. We're giving you the experience. It's for you to kind of pick up from someone who's senior to you, for example, and you have to kind of pick out the questions that you need help with, and you have to find the people that are going to help you. The graduate schemes do have that element to it, but they also have a very structured training to it as well, which we'll cover here in this slideshow as well. But yeah, you'll have a formal training, then you might have something like a rotation one where you work as part of a team, a certain team for like 3 months. Then you move on to another team or a different department. You work on there for another, I don't know, what is this, 6 months? And then you work on, well, it should say rotation three on there, but yeah, you'll move on to another rotation where you'll work there for another 3 months as an example. Then you get this holistic experience and then you move into year number two. Um, so that's just an example of how graduate schemes could work. A typical graduate scheme would look like this. So you get some formal training in the beginning, 1 month, 2 months, whatever it is, and then you move into different rotations, different areas of the business. You start to pick things up and start to work in different roles. Another scenario here is scenario number two. This is actually taken from my experience on the Accenture graduate scheme. So Accenture is a consulting company, so these rotations are kind of replaced with projects. So you'll be working on different client sites. So you'll be working with different clients, different companies, providing whatever consulting service you are providing. In Accenture, it's IT, but you might be in PwC where you're providing like tax consultancy or something like that. And yeah, so with this, you'll have like a formal training in the beginning, which is a little bit longer. So for me personally, it was about 12 weeks. It was like a 12-week or 9-week boot camp. I can't remember now, but it was like 10-week boot camp, let's just say. And you go through the formal training. You might have some tests, you might have some exams, have some group exercises, group projects, things like that. It's kind of like an extension of uni, to be honest. And then after that, once you've kind of qualified or once you've got the knowledge that you need, then you get put into different projects and different clients and stuff like that. And that's how my typical year looked. Well, that's how my year looked when I started in my graduate scheme. But yeah, like I said, two things to keep in mind. Number one, you'll always have some sort of training. And number two, you will be moved around in different places. That's kind of a key trait of graduate schemes is you're moved around in different places, locations, so that you can pick up, some good experience. You can pick up experience of different things in it. And we'll talk about that in here in a second as well, how that is actually an advantage for you because it gives you a chance and exposure to kind of see what you enjoy. So moving on to the things that you can expect. There's a couple of things. Firstly, I've mentioned this as earlier on as well. Comprehensive training is going to be one of the first things that you can expect on a graduate scheme. So graduate schemes often start with an intensive training scheme. If it doesn't start with an intensive training scheme, you'll have training embedded within the scheme. So a friend of mine is on an accountancy program. He does 4 days work, like in the office, and 1 day he's given an allowance, which is like a study leave allowance, where I think he visits the uni and he's completing his accountant, he's like ACCA or whatever it is. He's completing that there. So it's kind of embedded within his scheme. In my case, like I had a formal training boot camp right at the start where we taught coding and all those kind of things, technology and everything, and then we were put onto projects. So you will have training, some sort of training throughout the program. Comprehensive training, it helps you understand the company and its processes. So it's not just technical training or on the job training. It'll be other training like ethics and compliance and the boring admin stuff. You're going to be you are going to have to do that as well. You'll have structured technical training, definitely, depending on what type of role it is. So if there's like a hard skill that you need to learn, in a graduate scheme, they don't expect you to know it fully, so they will give you the training. Even if you've learned a lot of it from uni, you will still be taken through those basic things to pick up. And then there'll be nuances in how that company does it, so they'll teach you that as well. It helps you understand how to conduct your role. The structured technical training, obviously, that's what it's there for. And then, yeah, the other thing that you're going to have is rotations or projects. So a key aspect of graduate schemes is that you move around. Some graduate schemes might not do this. You might just be in one role for the duration of your graduate scheme, but it's very unlikely that they'll do this. They will definitely take you through different areas of the business at least, or put you in different roles, because it's just supply demand as well. They might need someone to fill a position which they don't actually want to hire for, so they might as well just chuck you in there instead because you're cheaper, you're eager to learn, you're more enthusiastic, so might as well do that instead rather than kind of hiring someone external to fill that role. And you can pick things up. You might already 50% know what to do anyway. So, that's how it works from a business point of view. So that's why you'll find yourself in lots of different areas doing lots of different things. So grad schemes often allow you to be a part of a number of projects or rotations so that you can get a good all-round experience. It's a benefit for you as well because you can get exposure to the things that you like, and also you build up some holistic experience so you know how things work even outside your area of expertise. Variations can include departments, so you can move from department to department. You can move from client to client. Like in my case, the graduate scheme that I am on, I move from client to client. Role to role, you could be doing one role for 3 months, and then you could do another role for another 4 months, for example. So it could be a different role. It can also be a different project. So you could be in the same office, same company, same everything, but it could just be a different project that you move from. So those are the sort of rotations and projects that you can expect to be moving around on. And what you want to do during this period is use this experience to learn what you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, having a career is a long slog and it can get very, very intense. Graduate schemes in general are quite intense because they're paying you a lot of money and they expect you to bring your A game. So it's important that you do that in something that you enjoy. And you might actually enjoy something which you never thought you would. So it's really important to soak up all that experience as much as you can. I have a rule where I never say no to a project. So on my graduate scheme, um, I never say no to a project, even if it's something that I don't want to do. I won't say no to it just because I know that whatever experience I'm going to get, I'm going to learn from it, and then it will better give me an idea of what I want to do and what I don't want to do. Now that's not forever. Obviously, there will be a point where I come to a point and I say, actually, no, I don't want to do this role because I enjoy this, and I want to do this. But at this moment in time, in my early sort of years in my graduate scheme, I don't really. I try not to say no to any project. Something comes my way, I'll read through it and I'll happily take it, and I'll just know that this is another little bucket of experience in my tenure, right? The other thing that you're going to expect in a graduate scheme is regular feedback and support. This is quite a big one. Like I said, graduate schemes are very structured, so they also have a lot of structured feedback and support built into them as well. So you'll usually be assigned a mentor or a buddy so that you're not on your own. Because obviously, one of the key things is you're still a graduate at the end of the day, and they do want someone to be able to help you through that process. If you have any questions, if you're feeling like you're stuck, there will be someone there to help you. Kind of different to a graduate job. Well, in my experience anyway, in my graduate job, I didn't feel like there was a specific buddy there. Yes, I had a line manager who I could go to for help or if I had any questions, but again, he was my line manager. He didn't really have that much time to kind of go through some things that maybe I needed to learn or I needed to pick up that was kind of expected to be done on my own. Whereas in my graduate scheme here, I have a line manager, I have a buddy I can speak to if I've got any concerns like HR related or anything like that. And then I have a line manager who's kind of helping me with my career growth as to where I want to go, what I need to do for my performance interviews and things like that. And if I have any questions regarding my role, then obviously I can go to them or I can go to my line manager as well. But obviously I can go to my mentor because they're actually doing a similar role as well. So they can guide me through that and they'll always make the time to do that because it's part of their day-to-day job to actually mentor me. So you'll get that in your graduate scheme as well. So you may also be part of a larger graduate cohort who you can network with as well. That's another great thing as well, compared to like a graduate job where you might actually just be the only graduate that's on the in on the ground. In graduate schemes, they usually take on a few graduates at a time. So you might be part of a larger graduate network where you can actually network with those people, add them on LinkedIn, spend some time with them. And often what happens is a few of you guys will actually split off and end up going higher and higher in other companies. And these are the people that can actually come back and help you a couple of years later, where you're actually finding a different job, or you want to move in a different location, or you want to move into a different um, kind of industry, or you want to work in a different company where the salaries are a bit higher and somebody's already there who actually worked as a graduate with you, it's a good connection to have. Regular performance reviews and constructive feedback is common in graduate schemes. So yes, it's very, very common that you're going to be getting constructive feedback. So keep remember that you need to have a thick skin, because graduate schemes, they're paying you a lot of money, there's a lot on the line, they want you to perform, and if there's things that you're lacking in, they will sort of bring that up. And they won't do it well, in my experience, they won't do it in a bad way, but they will kind of give you constructive feedback and say, look, these are things that you can improve, and you should improve them, because these are the rewards and benefits that you can get from it. So just be ready for that, just be prepared for that. It's well worth having clear career goals, so that the mentors that are assigned to you can help you achieve these. So really important, if you're coming onto a graduate scheme, you're already, I'm assuming you're already quite driven. But if you're not, or if you feel as though you're a little bit lost, you kind of don't know what to do, it's really important that before you get onto a graduate scheme, you research the job that you're going to be doing and have some sort of endpoint that you want to get to. For example, if you're getting into a accountancy graduate scheme, I keep giving the example. You should have a goal of maybe getting chartered. You want to become a chartered accountant. What do I need to do to get there? Or if you're going into a software engineering graduate scheme, you want to become, a software architect, and that's the goal. I want to do everything to get to that point. So those are just some examples. Like, that's how you need to think about this and utilize those mentors. And the only way you can utilize them is if you can help them understand where it is that you want to go. And you might find that in some graduate schemes, there won't be any capacity to actually help you get to that point. So, for example, if you want to become a managing director in 2 years or something, your mentor will be there to tell you, look, appreciate that you want to do this, but it's going to be very unlikely because of this, 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 this. So what you should rather do is you should try and look into getting to this point or aiming to get to here. So those conversations are going to be a lot more fruitful if you have some sort of idea of where you want to get to. The other thing that you're going to find in graduate schemes in your first year especially is going to be real accountability. So getting into a graduate scheme is hard, but maintaining one can also be challenging if you put your feet up. So just remember that when you're on a graduate scheme, it's a little bit different to a normal job where you can, once you kind of understand and get comfortable with the stuff, you can kind of put your feet up. Graduate schemes will always keep testing you. And if they're not, then you should be looking to test yourself, because that's how you grow and that's how you learn. So once you do all the hard bit of getting into a graduate scheme, the game's not over there. The game's just getting started. Like, now you really need to put a lot of hard work in, and make a name for yourself. Graduate schemes will give you real work to work on with real accountability. So this is probably one of the biggest benefits with a graduate scheme, is you will be working on real work compared to like an internship or something, or a placement year where you might not be working on real work. Like, you might not be doing things that actually move the needle. You might be working on stuff in the background or something like that. With graduate schemes, you will be thrusted into the mix of things. And yeah, you're gonna have to show up, and that's very good for you because you get to learn a lot of things. It's very fast moving. There's a lot of pressure, but yeah, like I said, you learn a lot of things in that, and it's great experience for you as a graduate schemer. You will have the opportunity to lead and contribute from the early stage. This is up to your appetite. If you feel like you can lead things, you will be given full reign to like lead things in a graduate scheme. So just that's also another thing to expect. And expectations of you will be high, but remember the previous slide, you will have support at hand when needed. So yeah, expectations are quite high when you're in a graduate scheme. But remember, you will have people to kind of guide you and help you along the way as well. So yeah, hopefully this doesn't put you off graduate schemes, but it's just to give you a realistic expectation that it is quite a lot of hard work, and there's they expect hard work from you as well. Um, but you will have help to support you along the way as well if you need any help. Last thing is a great network. So one of the biggest benefits, in my opinion, with a graduate scheme is that you get exposure to a lot of people, a lot of great people in the industry very, very quickly because you're like the graduate and everybody knows it, everybody in the company knows it. You get a lot of things that come to you without you even asking. So let's go through this. So you probably won't be the only graduate on the grad scheme, so you'll have people around you in the same boat. So that's always nice. Compared to like an experienced professional where you might only be the only person that knows about that thing there. Um, it's not like that with graduate schemes. You might have other people around you that are completely in the same boat as you, and you can bounce ideas off them and stuff as well. You will have access to networking events and exposure to senior leadership through the work that you do. Very self-explanatory, and that's great because if you want to move into senior positions, then you very quickly find out who these senior people are because you get given the opportunity to do so. As a graduate, you are a blank canvas, so many opportunities will come to you from the company. So a lot of the times the company will think, oh, he's a graduate, it might be good for him to learn this skill or her to learn this skill. That kind of stuff happens a lot. Now you got to be careful because sometimes, uh, let's just say some colleagues like to take advantage of this and just dump work on you. But if you have that, you know, emotional intelligence to kind of know what to pick and choose, there's a lot of opportunities that will come your way without you even asking. Um, so yeah, just as an example, in my company when I started like doing coding and stuff, I don't do coding by the way as well, anymore because I don't enjoy that stuff. But someone in the team said, "Oh, it might be good for you to actually do some of the design work that we're working on, actually designing some of the screens. You might want to have a go at that." And I had never designed before. I had never like used Figma or any of these softwares to kind of like come up with the designs. And I thought, okay, why not? Let's give it a go. And it actually turned out to be all right. I actually enjoyed it, and yeah, that opportunity came to me. Whereas I would have probably never had the chance to kind of spend time on learning how to design and stuff like that. Now I know how to design, I know how to use Figma, etc. So yeah, that's just one of the examples that I'm painting here for you. So, if you're struggling, like I said, to get onto graduate schemes, check out the Graduate Success Pack in the description below. And yeah, it's going to help you speed up your graduate scheme process. Graduate schemes are really hard to get onto. I just want to give you something that can help you speed up the process. And like I said, if you get into a graduate scheme, trust me, you are in the top 1 to 5% of people that come out of university. So you should pat yourself on the back. But yeah, getting to that point is very, very hard. So yeah, check out the YouTube videos on my channel to kind of help you with that. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.